tuned into Breaking the Mask of Depression with your host, Diva with Depression.
Hey guys, welcome to Breaking the Mask of Depression with me, the Diva with Depression. I hope everybody is doing well today. I hope that you guys are being peaceful and loving and kind. I'm not, but I'm glad. I hope you guys are. You guys know, well, you guys probably don't know, but April is Autism Awareness Month. And I wanted to do something special because when I read, you guys know me and my Google Facts, I'm always reading, and I know that autism and mental health are connected, closely connected. And who best to talk to about autism awareness than my sister, bestest friend, Lynn Cotton. And you guys heard Lynn Cotton with the caregiver interview. So let's welcome her back. Hi, Twinster.
Hi, Twinny. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me back. And thank you so much for doing this. You know how important this is to me. So I appreciate it.
I'll have to post a picture, guys, but I made an autism awareness wreath last year for Lynn. And every time I look at it, I'm just so overwhelmed because I think that it's such an important conversation to have, Lynn, and we don't have it. You know who we is.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So,
that wreath, by the way, is beautiful. And I had the Easter Bunny wreath up, so I've changed it and put that one up now.
I love it.
It's beautiful. But yeah, you're right. We do not. It is better than it was before, but that is something that I'm glad I'm seeing a little change in, and hopefully we'll continue to see progress with that.
Because, like when you start thinking about people, I know with me, when I start thinking about people, growing up, and you always left them aside, or family members just, tolerated them or put them aside. Nobody ever did the research to find out what was wrong.
No.
You're right. We've come a long way.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Go.
I was just gonna kind of piggyback on what you said and say you're right. Years ago, it was not the same as it is now. It was more so something is wrong with this child, and we're going to put them aside, and we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to try and figure out what's going on. We're just going to push them aside. We'll love them, but we're going to love them from afar or behind closed doors. So that has changed. But definitely more visibility now than ever before.
Exactly. Because, like they're put in, different special education classes, or, they're considered the R word. And, we're going to talk about my buddy in a minute because I learned so much since being your friend. So you guys know that me and my Google Facts, 3:00 in the morning. So,
and you are, I'm glad you do that. You're much better with the numbers than I am.
Oh my goodness. I really wish I could go to sleep instead of going on Google. So the Google fact, the meaning of autism is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. And as you guys hear, there's no negative connotation with autism. And ASD, which I just found out when I was doing my research, is the autism spectrum disorder, and that's the clinical definition for autism.
Right.
I didn't know that there was a separate, word for it. So that's awesome.
Yes, and that's actually how climates change, and now the PC term, I think, I won't say the PC term, but the more popular term, I believe, is on the spectrum, instead of saying autistic or autism. But I'm old school. I'm old school. I'm old school. So it's like I'm still going to say autism
Oh
and
yeah,
autistic, but I will definitely be respectful of those who want to be called something different or categorized as
yeah.
something different. But for me, we can use autism. Autistic is fine.
Oh, cool. Well, let's get started. Tell me
Yes.
about my baby and why
Okay.
you started. Tell us about Rod and why
Mhm.
you are such a huge advocate for autism awareness.
Well, I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. If you all don't remember, if I didn't say before, Roderick is he'll actually be 28 years old this month, and he was a extreme preemie. Um, and as a result of the medications that he had to take when he was premature, when after he was born, he had a hearing impairment, which we knew would happen. I mean, we knew happened, but prior to him even being discharged from the hospital. I'm saying that to say that just like other conditions, autism can present in similar ways to other disabilities or challenges or impairments that people may have, including hearing impairment. Hearing impaired, you often see hearing impaired people or babies, children. They love things that are linear, they love lights, they don't react to sounds the way others do. Their movements may even be a little different depending on the reason for the hearing impairment. Well, those things were going on with my son too,
Mm-hmm.
but he also had the hearing impairment. So it took a while for me to recognize the symptoms. The first symptom that he had that presented before um, anything else that let me know this was nothing to do with hearing impairment was a little twitch he had in his head, and he would move it back and forth between his shoulder,
Oh,
and he wouldn't stop. And that was when he was about 3 years old.
wow.
Um, I said something to the pediatrician. I said something to the therapist that he was going to, physical and occupational therapist, and the developmental clinics that he was going to because of the prematurity. And
Mhm.
everybody, literally everyone said, no, it's not autism. No, it's not autism. No, it's not autism. And I fought for 7 more years before we could actually get a diagnosis.
Wow. Wow.
He was 10 years old by the
Wow.
time we could get a diagnosis. And without a diagnosis, as many people know, you can't get certain treatments.
Right.
And at that time, though, there weren't as many specialized educational tools
Hmm.
or treatments and counseling and things like that as there are now. And there were some that weren't, and they definitely weren't as prevalent as they are now. And the number has definitely increased in options that people have. But not one thing that has never changed is early diagnosis and treatment
Hmm.
is the best, and we were basically denied that because no one listened to the person who knew him best, and
Right.
that was me.
Right.
So even from the very beginning, I was an advocate for so many other things for him,
Hmm.
but that was one thing I also focused on because the lack of support in the school system was not going to be lost on him because no one would listen to me. So even though he couldn't get that autism diagnosis, he still got special treatment in school that
Hmm.
was needed to help him grow and help him succeed.
Wow. Wow. I was listening on the tickety talk. And and I'm not sure, I don't know if I saved the video, but she was saying the same thing, that it took so long to get a diagnosis, like the
Hmm.
specific autism diagnosis.
Hmm.
It took so long for her to get a diagnosis, and that complicates things,
Yeah,
because you don't know how to handle, um, like what's going on. I don't,
right,
a lot of people don't
right.
have any knowledge of it going in, so they don't know what to ask.
That's true. They don't know what to ask. Some people don't even know what to look for. And I'll say that I did have a little advantage because growing up, I was exposed to a couple of people who had been diagnosed with autism,
Okay.
and but it was very extreme cases, of course, because that's when you're diagnosed early. That was when you were diagnosed early back 50 years ago, is when the extreme cases of autism, where every noise, every touch, everything bothers the child, and they rock, and that,
Mhm.
just like when I say extreme, I mean extreme cases. And but some of those symptoms presented with Roderick, and that let me know that I knew this had nothing to do with his hearing impairment. It had everything to do with autism.
Right.
Um, but a lot of people don't get that opportunity to be exposed early on, so they didn't know what they were looking for, and they didn't know what they saw in their own
Right.
child early on either. So I did have a little bit of an advantage, and now it's easier to get that diagnosis. I hate to say that, I don't hate to say this, because it has happened before with other things. There may be an overdiagnosis now because it's such a spotlight
Budget.
on autism,
Right.
so it's a double-edged sword sometimes with the awareness.
Yes. And it's not just our communities now, it's other communities. So it's important
Mm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
now.
Because
But I
where, of
digress.
course, where do all the treatments come from?
Exactly.
You're not
Exactly.
digressing. You're getting into the actual reality
Right.
of the parents who are
Hmm.
people of color, who have children with autism,
Hmm.
and we get lost in this system, and it's not fair to not forget the parents or the caregiver, but it's not fair to them, but it's definitely not fair to that individual whose many opportunities are lost because of their skin color or their economic background or economic situation, and it's not fair.
Yeah. Well, you guys know that I did 2 episodes on medical racism because it's so real. As a matter of fact,
Mm.
us in our conversation, sidebar. I was watching
Yes.
something yesterday and on the tickety talk, and this woman was furious because she said, "Now we have an opioid crisis,
Oh,
and now
yes.
is in crisis." But a couple of years ago, it was black thugs, black drug addicts,
Hmm.
crackheads.
Or
Um,
hillbillies.
oh
Or
yes,
hillbilly.
yes.
And that was the yes, yes, yes.
And now there's all these treatment centers, and insurance covers it or whatever.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
that's another conversation because we
Yeah.
could go on for days.
Oh gosh,
But
but this
like
is
you
this
said,
is the great thing about podcasts and
yes,
conversations. It opens up new opportunities for conversations
exactly,
that are needed. So,
exactly.
yep.
You know me, I'll go on for days. Because I'm in it, with the mental health condition, it's just unbelievable. So,
Right.
ah, back to the Google fact real quick. So actually, this is going to be a good one because I started for you. The
Okay.
CDC says that the average is 1 in every 59 8-year-old children in the US have ASD.
Mm.
Boys are 4 times more likely than
Yes.
girls to develop,
Yes.
and I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that there's different things that cause, that could affect it. There's no one thing
Right.
that, but it's genetics and environment. But I thought this was interesting because of you. And it said if one child in the family has ACD, the siblings have a chance. It's possible that the siblings will also have ASD. And then with twins, if you have
Mm.
identical twins,
Mm.
if one has it, the other one is more likely to have it.
Did not know that.
Yes, I'm going to have to send this clip to you.
Did
And
not
then
know that.
the other is relatives or children with autism show minor signs of communication difficulties. And I don't know, like that line there, I don't know is if you're in the middle of it, you start, when family members, you start to adapt to different things, and then everybody ends up doing things alike. So
Yeah.
that's what I thought about. But the twin fact was really interesting to say to you, to talk to you about. And I wanted to let you know that because,
That's news to me.
yeah, yeah. Because I don't know if everybody remembers you saying that Roddy had a twin.
Right.
And so I that was very interesting to me.
Very,
So,
that is. I had no idea that was the
yes,
case. Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
And since there's no there's no set medical treatment, not treatment, diagnosis, like you said, these
Mm-hmm.
things go unnoticed. So,
Mm-hmm. 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 Now, I will say that I remember once I realized he was autistic
mhm,
before he actually got the diagnosis. um, I did find out that it was more prevalent when it comes to
mhm,
boys
mhm,
than girls, and to see the severity is also more prevalent in boys than girls.
wow.
So, especially those who are on the spectrum and are nonverbal.
Mhm. Okay.
Roderick, I think, would be verbal. He is verbal.
Yep.
He is not nonverbal.
Yeah.
He is just his verbalization is challenged because
Right.
of his hearing impairment, not because of his
Right.
autism.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I said that I was going to write this down and tell you, talk about this because, I've said this over the 20 years. Roderick, when we would babysit Roderick,
Mm-hmm.
the one time that, of course, you have to have apple juice because that's Roderick's favorite. And, but one
And it
time,
still is. I asked him recently. It still is.
and I always keep some in the refrigerator for him. When he came by the house one time, Anthony had been, it was one time that he had like an HVAC book or something like that. And, I'm worried about entertaining Rod or whatever. And Roderick went and got that book and he did not put it down until you came to get him. And then, and I was like, is he really reading this? We were all so fascinated because it's such a boring thing, but so, listen, you know me and my baby.
But what's interesting about that is, we're saying, oh, that's so boring. But there are people out there who really are interested in stuff like that. And so when it's kind of been said lightheartedly in movies and in TV shows and in conversations I've actually heard or had with other people where people say, I really think, it's nothing wrong with a person who has autism. It's just that we haven't reached their level of thinking yet.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? In a way, I think you are actually right. They hone in on their skills.
Yes.
And it's like all else be damned. It doesn't matter what that person thinks. It doesn't matter what society thinks. I like what I like, and I am going to be interested in it, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to, So, and while they may have, and I do know that the neurological aspect of it, not wanting to be touched, not having the emotional connections that some others may have, can be difficult, and it's more of a challenge for us sometimes than it is for them. It's because I think we think about our own boundaries. We don't think about theirs, and we think ours is okay. We're the norm. We're the norm. So they should be okay with a handshake, a hug, eye contact, this. And to them, it's like, no, it isn't. So I feel like sometimes it should be more of a challenge for us to adapt and respect that than it should be for them to adapt to our world. I'm putting our in quotes, quotation marks, but yeah. So anyway, we kind of digress, but in a sense brought it still back to the topic.
No, really. And I don't like to be touched either. So,
and exactly. But do you know how more adults now are also being diagnosed as being on the spectrum?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I yeah. Mm-hmm.
And especially with ADD and ADHD, before it was just a childhood thing. But now that adults are learning that they live with ADD and ADHD, some of them are finding out that they are indeed on the spectrum. And it's, I think it's comforting, because all of your life and all of this time, you think something is wrong with you.
Wrong, right?
Just no, I'm just different.
I'm just me. That's what it is. Like, yes, I'm different. I told a lady a lady that I met within the last few months recently. I was like, you know what? I'm weird, but I embrace my weird. I call it weird or whatever you want to, but I embrace it. And I think it would be very boring to be like everybody else. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you said that you noticed things at 3 and then was diagnosed at 10. So in between, how did you handle sort of, being in the dark as far as the diagnosis was concerned? How did you handle Roderick during that time?
Well, two different things I had to kind of manage, and that's just being a mom and being home with him, and also his education and his progress as a, a preschooler. Because at that time they want to be sure that they are they go by diagnosis to put you in a certain classroom.
Right.
And without him having that diagnosis, he had to be placed in a classroom that probably was not best for him, but it still benefited him. And that's one of the things I had to be sure of. First, you're going to be sure that he has an interpreter, so that the lessons won't be lost on him, because there's no one there to use sign language for him.
Right.
And secondly, you're going to be sure that you make sure he is comfortable. I know you have other kids in the classroom, but that's one of the things I would go and meet with his teachers about and say, this is what he likes, this is what he doesn't like. And while the management of the classroom can be difficult, I knew that in preschool and grade school, they would have teacher assistants. And we were lucky, blessed, chosen, however you want to put it, that we had some great teacher assistants in those classrooms, people that don't get a lot of praise. They were absolutely wonderful, and a couple of them ended up becoming like family, and one even watched my son for a while. So that's one way, was to make sure that the school system and those who interacted with him knew what he was about, what he liked, and the best way that I saw that he learned. And the way I found out he learned was just trial and error at home and spending time with him. And I'm going to say this also, parents are on the phone so much and wanting to capture everything on camera so much that they're not really taking the time sometimes to pay attention to these toddlers, and missing some of the signs of possibly not developing in a way that you would expect them to. Put the phone down, pay attention to your child, and see how they learn. And that information can be very helpful to the teachers later on too. I figured out how my child learned, and I entertained him at the same time. And while I got tired, because being a single mom is difficult anyway, but being a single mom with a child who has special needs, it was something that I had to just make a lot of adjustments for. And sometimes that was a day-to-day adjustment, and figure out. And I definitely had to find trustworthy people to bring into his orbit, so to speak, so that I wouldn't be alone all of the time in caring for him. And so that's where, when I moved from one city to another and moved now to where we are, I'm grateful for those I've met here, and you're definitely one of them, because without you all, there's no way that I would have been able to maintain my own sanity by having a life of my own. So and even when I go out and do things myself, I still have my child on my mind all of the time. And I was talking again, a lady that I was speaking with recently, who has never met him, but knows that he is an adult. She says sometimes when you're talking about him, I forget how old he is.
Right.
She said, because I'm just thinking of this little kid, and I was like, well, remember how old I am, you'll remember how old he is. But I don't have a little baby, but I get it. I get it. Because he's still so innocent in a lot of ways.
Right.
But I try to focus on that and be okay with it, and nurture whatever it is that he wants to do, even now. And that means fighting a treacherous system for adults with autism or special needs. It's a different world for them.
Listen. People call the helpline, and I hear these stories, and it gets me angry because there's just not enough resources available for everyone, that's living with these different situations. I don't know if you said this already, but is his thinking, what level is Rod on? I know he's 27, but is he 27, if that makes sense?
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. That makes sense to me. He is definitely not 27 anywhere.
Okay.
You wouldn't even look at him physically and think he is 27 years old. So it's hard to say, because I'm one of those parents that I saw what was on a report when he was in school. I paid attention to it then. I don't remember it now because it really didn't mean as much as I thought it did.
Okay.
If that makes sense,
Yeah.
I just know that he has difficulty understanding emotional things.
Okay.
He has difficulty understanding or rationalizing certain, things, and being logical about things. His ability to communicate is very, very low, very low. And that's a combination of autistic and hearing impaired. He can do math better than most of us.
We know that.
Yes, he can do math better than most of us. And as a matter of fact, he is in a program at the community college, and we're thinking about him moving on from the program because the teacher said, we think Roderick is bored. He knows this and he is bored. And I said, okay, I will talk with him. And sure enough, that is exactly what he said. Yes. I said, are you bored or still having fun? Bored. Okay. All right. But so math is great. Language, not so great. Spelling, horrible. So he has memory is really good though. And that's something that's interesting about Roderick. He has a great memory for certain things. He can see things. And this is where the medical terms and technical terms I'm not I really don't know, but it's like this hand-eye coordination thing. He sees things that like I can't see. He can put a puzzle together like nobody's business. Just like the Legos.
Yeah.
It fascinates me because I can't do it. They give me Legos to build. I'll build a block. Now he doesn't have a lot of, and that's the difference too. Imagination is not there. The imagination is not there. I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay. The imagination is not there, but the ability to follow the guidebook or the instructions. He can put that thing together, and they'll say 2 weeks and it's done in 2 days. So he has just different abilities all over the place, a wide range, which is also very typical of those on the spectrum.
Yeah, he fascinates me. And Lauren says this all the time. She goes, how does he remember me? He doesn't see me so much. I say, he knows who Elle is. He knows who Elle is.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. He has that great memory.
Yes, he does. And the birth dates, how it's funny because you know how people think about their astrological signs and
Yeah,
their
yeah.
birthdays and stuff. And I'm like, I wonder if Rod is thinking, well, that's a Virgo because her birthday is such and such and such, because that's so important to him to know, you know.
Well, and that's something that I've also had to do as a mom is I try to figure out why he does certain things, because we all have our
Yeah,
things,
the quirks.
and
Yeah.
we think about it. Most of us probably overanalyze what we do and why.
Right.
And so I try to do that for him, because I don't know for sure whether he does, but I have a feeling it's not that deep for him. It's just, I like what I like, and that's it. I don't need to know why. It is what it is, and that's all there is to it. So, but for him, I think, it's not about personalities. It's not about anything like that. It's a concrete thing for him. It's about how old are you? How old are you? And are you considered old for a human being, or are you considered young for a human being? Are you close to my age?
Right.
That kind of thing. That's what he's thinking about.
Wow. So, my next Google fact, you're gonna like this. Well, not like this, but this is how it ties in, because I wanted to share how the autism spectrum related to mental health. And but I think everything relates to mental health, but this is something that we need to break down. Scientists state that there are several factors like mental illness that contribute to autism, and they have it listed as a comorbidity. And they say that people with ASD have a significantly increased risk in developing a mental health disorder. And one of the things, like they go through anxiety and poor sleep, irritability, motivation, and sadness, and as they get older, like the self-care and stuff. But one thing that stood out to me was the OCD symptoms, and how, going back to how we grew up, OCD was quirks, quirks. Like me, I always had to have, and it's still like my kitchen has to be clean, but the rest of everything looks like shit. And, you have to do things a certain way. So, if you think about anxiety, depression, OCD, and the different types of mental illnesses, have you ever noticed that in Rod?
Absolutely. I have noticed the OCD when it comes to, first, let me say this. There is OCD in my family.
Okay.
I should have said that when you mentioned that before. Yes, there is OCD in my family. As a matter of fact, one of my brothers had, like you were talking about the quirks, he had to do certain things a certain number of times, every single time, turn around in a doorway, hit the the little string that comes from the attic. Okay, he had to hit that once every time he went down the hallway and passed it.
Wow.
Without fail. And if he didn't, he would go back and hit it again. If it didn't hit the door and hit it hard enough to hit the door, he would go back and hit it again. So it's in our family. Now, with Rod, I did notice some OCD with certain things that he likes. But that's, yes, typical with people who are autistic. They are compulsive about certain behaviors, certain objects, certain people they can be compulsive about. But we also tend to overlook the anxiety that people with autism have, because we just chalk it up to them being autistic and having a stimming situation. They have anxiety. They are anxious because because their routine has changed. That increases anxiety levels in them. But we say, oh, that's their autism. No, it's anxiety.
It's anxiety.
It's anxiety. Exactly. When they do get their mood changes, and you rarely see, with my son, you rarely see a wide range of emotions. But when you see that sadness or that person being upset, that can, especially for people who have difficulty expressing themselves, result in a depression. who are they going to talk to if they're nonverbal?
Oh wow, yeah. And that's
You
something
know,
to think about.
because you say, well, go to therapy. They
Mhm.
have to do a different type of therapy.
Right, right,
They can't talk it out. They
right.
have to do a different type of therapy. That's why you'll see some people who have been diagnosed with autism. They will have those weighted blankets and
Uh,
vests on.
yeah,
Anxiety. That's a part of the treatment. So
absolutely.
it all ties in.
Yeah.
This mental health is such a mystery,
Oh,
and it's amazing all at the same time.
yes.
And the
Yeah.
more we talk about it, the more we'll see how much in common so many of us have. And
Yeah.
it should just open people's eyes who are prejudiced to others because of whatever differences. It should just open their eyes. These kind of conversations should open people's eyes to say, you know what, instead of focusing on all the differences, let's come together. But it's unfortunately not going to happen. But that's just another example of how closely related people really are.
Yes, yes. And the the list of things that they have here that says 70% of kids with ASD have at least one mental health disorder, and
Mm-hmm.
41% to 50% of kids have two or more mental
Mm-hmm.
health conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety affects about half of those with ASD.
Yeah.
So anxiety is the standout. And I think about because I always say I've been depressed all my life, but
Mm-hmm.
I started the things that made me different. you
Mm-hmm.
know it started about 6 years old, and it wasn't until what, 20 or something like that, that somebody finally said you have severe depression, blah blah blah. All that time with no diagnosis, oh, it's just how you are, or it's just your environment, not
Mm-hmm.
understanding that it's something real. you
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm.
um, Talking about the anxiety, and I remember, remember last year when you got sick, and I went to pick Rod up to meet your mom, and I don't think that
I think that was
ever,
last year. Yeah.
I don't think that I've ever seen Roderick as anxious as he was. Like it was scary for me, and it was
Mm-hmm.
heartbreaking because, and I kept telling him, "Oh, mommy's fine," or whatever. But he was
Mm-hmm.
so worried about you, and he wouldn't listen. We didn't put on the blues station. We didn't put on anything. He was just so nervous about you, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the first time that I really saw how his anxiety can kick in. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It
Oh,
takes over. It really takes over his mind and his body. Just
yeah.
like, a lot of other people who have anxiety, it just takes over for
Hmm.
him. Yeah. He
And
does worry about his mommy.
oh, listen, don't even talk about mommy, okay? I told you he's your real husband.
He's the real man in the
He's the
family.
real man. That's
My
right.
grandmother called it. She said, "Yeah, is the president of the family." Period. That's it.
It's him. It's him. You mentioned a term, stimming. Can you
Mhm.
tell us what that is?
Oh yes. Okay. So stimming is a behavior that we see a person on the outside doing, from the outside looking in. We see them doing, and that typically is something that soothes or calms the person who is stimming, an autistic person. So sometimes you'll see them flapping their hands.
Mm-hmm.
It also could just be a release of energy,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's typically a soothing type of action that you will see an autistic person doing: flapping of hands, rocking of the head. Sometimes they'll even do they say dogs do, the zoomies.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You'll see some people just take off and run a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and go back and forth like that. That can be stimming behavior. Sometimes the stimming behavior can be injurious,
Mm-hmm.
which you have to kind of watch. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes stimming behavior is also running away. So it can be a variety of things, but it is typically a soothing behavior for them. Mhm.
So and we can do this quickly. When you using the anxiety as an example, or maybe the sadness, not only is Rod on the spectrum, but he's the communication is different.
Mm-hmm.
So once you recognize that these anxieties or mental health issues are showing up, how do you recognize it? Number one, and number two, how do you calm it, if that's the right term?
Typically what Roderick will do is he will stand around you a lot. He won't do the activities that he likes to do. He will totally ignore his technology, the phone and games and things like that. He will wring his hands. He'll kind of rock back and forth. He will mention things over and over and over again. And what I typically do with him is answer his questions. And this is the time he likes to be touched. So he'll like for me to kind of pat him on his back, rub his back, and I sign and talk to him and let him know things are going to be fine, or let him know whatever is going on. And I'll be very blunt with him now, or as blunt as I feel like I need to be with him at this age, because he's an adult. And he's seen some things. He's lost people in his life. And so I will kind of answer his questions, but with him, because the thoughts can be so cyclical, it can go on for a long period of time. I have to give him a cutoff. I'll let him know, okay, we're not going to talk about it anymore. You cannot ask about it anymore today. You can ask one more time tomorrow. And sometimes that'll work. It took a while for that to work, but it works better now than ever. So, and that's what a lot of people who are caregivers to people with autism, they have to figure out what works for them, because when you're talking about almost like snowflakes, so individual, so different for each individual. But that's what I do for him. And it took years to figure it out, and I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So, and another quick thing, we'll be here all day. Another quick thing, like you have a worker that helps out, like Rod stays with a worker. Since I've known you, there's always been a worker involved, and they take him to his favorite activities sometimes. So, the bowling and the horseback riding. And I know how horseback riding specifically helps people with mental illness. How does, what is his reaction with his hobbies, bowling and movies and different things like that?
This is where it's really easy to see the delay, because that's all he thinks about. He feels like that's something he should do every day. There's no limit to the money. There's no limit to the resources. It's just like, why can't I go and play in the pool every day all year long? Why can't Carowinds be something I do every day, and go to a restaurant and eat every day? And, it's like, why not? I don't understand. So, he enjoys that. Of course, he enjoys his activity so much. I hate to have him do things he doesn't want to do, because I just want him to be happy,
Right.
I just want him to be happy. But he's gotten a lot better with letting you know what he wants. Over the last few years, he's gotten a lot better with being specific about what he wants and when he wants to do things. But he's also gotten a lot better at understanding, okay, there are limits also. And that's good, because I was having a tough time with that. I mean, he was expecting thousands of dollars to be spent for birthday and Christmas and 4th of July and all of that. But one thing I will say about him is that if you are there to support him and he feels comfortable with you, he's almost willing to try anything, willing to try anything. And it's kind of what I consider the cheapest therapy for him that I can provide, which is some of the things that he likes and wants and desires, because I'm one of the few people that can understand what he wants and tries to actually do it for him. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does.
Okay. I think I kind of got lost in my answer for a second.
Well, you know
You
me.
know
I'll
me in my
float along
mind.
with you. I didn't ask this before, but I know Mama Mac. Tell us about, and you could do it like 2 minutes or whatever, your support system.
Okay.
And, because like I said, since I've known you, I've met so many people that have taken Rod out and different things. Tell us about your support system and what it means to you and what it means to Rod.
Well, over the years, we've had a number of people in and out of our lives, which in so many have been really, really great. But in the very beginning, from the very first moment he came into the world, his nana was there. And she and my dad were, my dad passed away several years ago. Roderick was only 4, but they were, instrumental in caring for us both, actually, and did so much for him in his early years. And my mom continues to this day to try to do for her baby. When she gets sick, she's not worried about herself. She's worried about what she's not able to do for her baby. And she loves she loves him. She loves him so much. And she would take care of him for weeks on end, for years. And that was so helpful to me, because without that, I would not get a mental break of my own. We've also had great people in the school system. While we've had our challenges, again, the shining stars every time have been the teacher assistants. When not just in the school system here in Charlotte, but also when we were living in the Raleigh area, we had great teacher assistants there. And a couple of them, like I said, took on roles as caregivers. We had a bus driver here take on a role as a caregiver, and she was going to do that for free. And when I told her she could get paid, she was like, "Oh, really? Oh, okay." And again, became lifelong friends of the family. And then we have our friends in our family, and like you and my uncle and others who have stepped up and said, I'll take Rod, so you can do this or do that, and offer when most don't. So that has been a great help. All of you have been a great help. One thing, though, that I must say is that because Roderick was born as a preemie, we were introduced to the quote unquote system very early on. And that's because he was considered disabled immediately, because of his birth, gestation at birth. So I'm sorry, the gestational weeks, the number of gestational weeks at birth. So we had immediate interventions with social workers, and that made it easier for us to navigate the system that makes it more difficult for others who jump in later on and have to be put on waiting lists and things like that. We were in place from discharge, from the time he was discharged 27 years ago from the hospital. And when we moved from one county to another, so did our services. And so a lot of the challenges that people go through, we did not have. But the system also provided us with caregivers, and through a discerning eye and lots of interviews and patience and time taken, we have found some great workers over the years as well. So all of that has been a village. And I have my husband as well. I don't mean to leave him out. He's also been a great support. And so it's just been so many people, as my mom would say, angels. And that's what it is. It's truly just been blessings upon blessings upon blessings. And I kept my mind and my heart open a lot, because you have to do that in order to not miss opportunities for my son to get to know people and grow his village, which he couldn't do on his own.
Yeah. Such a great mommy. Such a great mommy. I say that all the time.
Thank you.
I know that you have to go, so I'm going to sort of touch on these subjects real quick.
And going for a Roddy, obviously. Go ahead.
He's important. We got to get
the president has called.
For Christmas, guys, I had the honor of taking Roderick to get his mommy's Christmas present.
See what I mean about my village people? You see? Yes.
And, you know, Lynn knows I'm always nervous when I'm alone with Rod, and it's just a communication thing. But I was ready to fight. And I was ready to fight the cashier because she was so cold towards him. Until she realized that there was a communication, difference. And then she wanted to change, but it was too late because I was already kicked her ass. But I know, listen, even with my grown kids, when we go somewhere, I follow them everywhere. Or, I need to send me a text, what aisle are you in? And, so forth. So tell us about taking Rod out.
Well, obviously, lots of stares from little kids, especially when Roderick was younger, because now he doesn't have as many tics or stimming behaviors is obvious. That's just been a natural change for whatever reason for him. But when he was younger, it stood out. And not only that, he would have little tantrums, which made him stand out. People would stare, but most times it was little kids. So I will say this, the experience that you had, I am lucky to never have had with my child, as far as I can remember. One of the workers had another incident similar to that, except this person did not change their attitude once they realized that there was a challenge there. And they didn't also realize that they messed with the wrong worker. But I never have had to deal with an unruly adult. And I'm very glad I have not, because most times it is just me and Roderick.
Right.
And if I do have to do something or say something, I don't know how I would react, because that is my child and I'm so protective. But I don't want to step over the line that would cause me to be separated from him for even longer, than I need to be, if that makes sense.
You and not me. Because I was ready to break out the whooping,
I mean, I maybe for another child, but all I keep thinking and what stays in the back of my mind truly is like, well, if I go down, where's Roderick? I'm taking him with me and I can't do that. So it's like, who's going to keep him then? Who's going to watch him? So I try to keep my cool, but I really, truly haven't run across a lot of adults. Like most times I get the wow look because we're using sign language.
Right.
I get I would love to know sign language. Oh, that is so cool. Oh, that's what I get. And I'm very grateful for that, because I know that's not everybody's story. I know that's not everybody's situation. And I am grateful for that. Roderick is such a caring person.
He really is.
And he's such a sweet guy that it's like people tend to fall in love with him and they don't even know him. After a few minutes, it's like, oh, I love him. Oh, he's so sweet. I mean, he has people at fast food restaurants falling in love with him. He's so sweet. And it's like, what did he do? Order a cheeseburger and got a biggie fry. I mean, but no, but he's a sweet guy. He is a sweet guy. And so luckily mom has not had to be the lioness. That has not had to come out, but it's there just so everybody knows, in case you do run across us and you have something negative to say, keep it to yourself. Please keep it to yourself, because it could be a teachable moment for all of us, or it could go down a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a twin coming out. That was a twin coming out.
Listen, especially if the other twin finds out about it.
What?
So we coming to your house.
I'm saying it's gonna be 2 times as deadly. Oh my gosh. And we got our bail money. Go ahead.
Oh gosh.
I love this. See, and look, we have a sense of humor in
Mhm.
spite of it all. You have to laugh, and that's why I love my twin.
And I have to say, guys, that she's not lying. Everywhere we go, he does. Oh my goodness, he's so sweet, and and then there's a 10-minute long conversation. It's like, lady, we need to eat. We're hungry.
Right.
Oh, okay, I'm coming right back.
Oh, what? Look, we were remembered at the restaurant too. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, I remember you all from the last time.
Oh,
You're gonna be our waitress? No, I was just coming over here to speak.
right. And I just think that it's wonderful, or the way people reach out. Oh well, I have a family member
Yeah.
that is deaf,
Yes.
and the sign and paint. I always talk about
Yes.
but quickly, guys, you know how everybody's doing the sip and paint. Well, Lynn happened to find people that do sign and paint, and it's people that are hearing impaired in their families coming
Mhm.
together to paint, and
Great.
it is absolutely fascinating. It always fascinates me, and I think it's just a beautiful thing that
Yes.
you were able
Yes.
to find this community of people because, like
Yeah.
you said, he is 27 years old. So we don't want
Mhm.
to stay home with Legos. We want
Right.
to do something different. And
Exactly.
listen, he's an artiste, okay, with those pictures.
Oh gosh. And look, I know we have to end it soon, very soon, but I have to say this. Because one of the things that people do when it opens up conversations, and I love sharing little tidbits with people and
Mhm.
resources. And I will say this first: UNC Teach, TEACCH. They may not. I'm not sure what their reputation is now, but I'm giving a shout out to them
Okay.
because they are the ones that fought with me for this diagnosis. They are the ones that did the assessments, provided resources early on, and they stuck by our side for a long time. That's how we were able to get diagnosed. It wasn't a pediatrician or anything else. It was UNC Teach. The other thing I have to give notice about is give a little praise to is the Autism Society of North Carolina. They offer a plethora of resources, and it's not always just about medical help and things like that. It's about us as caregivers as well. And they offer a great summer camp or all year camp. Actually, they do activities all year round called Camp Royal. And that's one of the places that Roderick loves. So I just needed to be sure to get those mentioned before we end it.
Okay. And I'm going to make sure that, and if you want to text me, I will include those with the transcript.
Absolutely.
So be there for people. And I'm also going to include CPCC because I don't know if I
Yes.
ever told you this, but if I talk to someone and mention Rod going to school, and people will ask, well, is there a special program or whatever? And I just thought me, I think everything's fascinating about Rod. But getting up and going to college, it just blew my mind.
And he is a college student, according to CPCC, full time. Yes.
And so this all ties into what I was going to say next. So is it just CPCC, and is there a name of a program, or is it just CP?
The program is I Lead. And it stands for something, but I can't remember exactly what. But it is I Lead, and it stands for something about leadership, though, and them leading their own lives and getting goals for themselves and things like that.
Okay, so that led me into the last thing to ask for 3 pieces of advice. But I'm going to change it now since you already gave us that information. I want you to give me, before we sign off, one thing, and it could be anything. But one thing that will help someone who has a child that has not been diagnosed, one thing that a caregiver, mommy, daddy, family member, friend, where they can get resources or a piece of advice for them. And
Mhm.
the third thing, tell us Roderick's favorite color. And how you found out that that was his favorite color.
And how I found out that was his favorite color.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, okay, I think I remember the first one was, the first question was,
if someone is trying to get their child diagnosed.
oh, right. Okay. What I will say is, don't just stop at a pediatrician. Please, please, please Google the resources that are in your area. There is now way more help available with diagnosis and early treatment than there was 27, 28 years ago. So please don't just rely on your pediatrician. Be your child's advocate. And Google is the best thing that has been friggin' invented.
Listen.
I mean, it has a lot of BS on there, but it has such great information on there. Use it to Google what is available in your area.
Right.
Okay. What was question number 2? Because mommy has a bad memory.
Is, what for caregivers that are working.
Okay. And this is going to be a little unconventional because I am not the social media person. I have found one of the best, and I wish I would have written their name down. Oh, I feel bad. There's more than one. There's a group on Facebook that offers support for children, for parents and caregivers of people with autism. And we're talking those who are just diagnosed, those who are going through the process of diagnosis, those who have been in it like me for years and years. We offer information that is just invaluable, and not just information, but I've even gone on there and just said, vented. And with one sentence, I get 500 people with taking the time to give a comment, a hug, a heart. And that makes all the difference in the world when you're going through a hard moment. And we all have them. But I have found that platform to be such a great one and a reliable one. And it's free. So that's great. Free. Yes. And I will send you the name of the one I've joined so you can add that. I just don't know it right now. And Roderick's favorite color changes over time. I know this because that's one of the questions that I ask him. However, the most consistent one has been orange. Believe it or not, Winnie. Yes.
That's my favorite color.
I know. And that's why I laughed when you asked that question, because he has said that on more than one occasion. And he's also said red before.
And that's what I was sticking to, the red. I thought it was just the red.
No, he said red before. So it's changed a couple of times. So I think he likes certain, and it depends on maybe what he's talking about, what object it is or whatever. But yeah. So orange and red, those are the two that he likes the most. And I found out just because I asked and he told me. So he can answer some concrete questions, and it's just been interesting to get him to do that, because I asked him who his favorite person was. It's not me. It's not me. It's grandma. Grandma is his favorite person. So I wanted to leave this on a high note and let everybody know that you still can get shaded by your autistic kid.
That is hysterical. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for leaving us with that laugh, because that was a good one. Lynn, you know that I tell you that you're fascinating. And I see the work that you've done throughout the years since we've been friends. And your relationship with Roderick is just amazing. Your patience and your knowledge, and I know that when it comes to moms and dads, we always go the extra mile. So all of us have knowledge in different things when it comes to our children.
Absolutely.
But your knowledge is amazing. And I can tell you, and this is not just because you're my twinster, that guys, when we're out or we're going somewhere, Lynn will always stop and talk to somebody if they want some advice. And I always say that you and Gina, I can never go out with you. I can never go out with you guys because Gina will be in one aisle giving somebody a whole heart, and you'd be in the other aisle giving somebody some advice. But that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you have the knowledge, we give it away. And
absolutely.
so I'm going to put you on the spot and tell you right now that if someone reaches out to me based on this interview and your caregiver interview, I will definitely pass it along.
Please
and
do.
work with you to get the answer.
Please do. Please do. And I love spreading great messages.
Yes, it's important.
Yes.
And as I always say, your support for me is immeasurable. And thank you so much for doing this again. Guys, she will be back. She doesn't know it, but she will be back because I know.
We are going to put a comedy podcast in the works. Well, at least one episode on here, and I hope people will enjoy it. And I do. I told somebody just last night that I want to start a separate podcast, as if I can't keep up with this one. But you're doing great. Thank you for taking the time to come back and share your wisdom with us. Guys, say thank you to Lynn. Thank you again. Thank you so much. And I'm just grateful. I can't say anything more than that. I'm grateful. Grateful for you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you guys for listening. I know we probably went a little bit over my usual, but once I start talking, forget it. And this is important. So remember that it's Autism Awareness Month. A great time to become aware. Research facts, like Lynn said, like I always say, Google is the shit. Get on there. If you don't know, there's no excuse because you have it at your feet. Again, email me, text me, anything. If you have questions for Lynn, please reach out. Thank you guys for your support always. If you don't already, go follow me everywhere. Even with depression, I'm everywhere. Reach out to me, let me know what you think of the episode, listen, share. I always tell you guys, listen, you don't have to share everything, but there are certain subjects like this one that I would love for you to share. Thank you to Illumination Media and Technology for helping out. You guys stay peaceful and happy and safe. Take care. Thank you. Bye, Miss Lynn. Bye. Sometimes